Hey, it's Charlie. Today we're going to be looking at some guitar FAQs, frequently asked questions, of course. So I thought I'd compile something through all my teaching and stuff online, being a YouTube guy. You get questions, emails, all sorts of things, but also with the private teaching, get lots of questions about just general stuff, and all the same questions seem to crop up. So I thought it'd be good to address the ones that I think are most important and would be most useful for other people who might be interested. So today we're going to do one today. We're going to start with technique, and technique is often phrased, how do I get better technique? How do I get faster technique? How do I get quicker? How do I get leaner? All those kind of things. So I thought I'd try and demystify today what is good technique. No one seems to really know what good technique is. When I was younger, I used to think good technique was just being able to play at a million miles an hour, sweeping, legato, tapping. That was good technique to me then. I thought I must get good technique if I do all that. That's not really the case at all. I found later on when I started trying to record, and as soon as you hear yourself back, you realise how bad your technique is. The technique really, in essence, for me, is getting a good sound. So if you can get a good sound from the instrument, whatever you're playing, whether you are sweep picking, tapping, or just playing a C major chord, you have good technique, because good technique requires you to be able to get your hands to work together to create a great sound. So that is really what technique is. Now, what I thought I'd do today was try and give you guys some ideas of ways of practicing your technique. There are a million and one ways to do it, but rather than storming up and down G major scale, tapping it and all of that, something that's actually a little bit more musical and that you might actually use. So what I used to do was take a really simple chord progression. I'm going to take something in. So I've got three things here. I've got something for the kind of beginner, well, improving guitarist, I'd probably say, rather than sort of absolute beginner. I've got something for the kind of intermediate guy, bit of right hand muting, and then someone for something who wants to take things a little bit further into kind of fingerstyle guitar, ways to kind of really develop your technique. Now, you have to be listening. Listening is really how you get good, because you should really record yourself and listen back, even if it's a rubbish, you know, recording on your phone or whatever, at least, and then listen back and be as critical as you possibly can. All right, so what I used to do is take a simple chord progression, C, A minor, F and G, all right, and I just check that I can play that nicely. So what I mean by that is to play, okay, now hopefully while I'm talking I don't mess it up. So that's just keeping the progression nice and even, okay, and ideally you'd use a metronome to make sure it's in time. I'm playing 6/8 here. Now you might get, what you want to avoid obviously are when you get things like, let's see if I can do it, I'm not sure if I can do it, things like that, where it's really uneven. We don't want that. Obviously you want to keep the music moving and every note is clear, okay, and at no point do you hit a fret and it goes wrong. You know, it's got to be really clear every time. Then you just change keys, so G, E minor, C, see how quickly you can do that, then D, B minor, G, A, and then maybe you strum it. So A, F sharp minor, D, and just making sure that every chord is formed perfectly. E, which is harder than you might think, and I probably wasn't doing that as flawlessly as I might like there. But you hear every chord's formed. People often think they've got their chord changes and they can do it and that's it. But it's not. You've got to keep persevering and you've got to get them. You can always get them cleaner. You can always get them better. All right. So that's something just to try out. Record it 3 minutes of you playing the same thing. Does it sound as good at the beginning as it does at the end? It's very difficult to get that, but that is good technique. It's consistent, it's musical, and that's what you're looking for. Now, if you took something else, if we took something a bit funkier and we introduced kind of left-hand muting, like something like play that funky music, kind of thing anyway, you know. Now that's harder because you've got to mute. So if you recorded that back, you say, okay, well, can you hear that every single time? Does it sometimes go, you know, is it kind of skew whiff? Is it, you know, it's got to be consistent every time. But that slide, little things like that, can you get... If it isn't, fix it, practice it, find out what it is that is stopping you from doing that. You have to be overly critical at any stage of playing in order to get better. You have to be really critical, because essentially when it comes down to it, you're the only person that's going to work on these problems and get them better. So try something like that. It doesn't have to be that. It might just be a funky kind of thing with some muting. But again, record it. 3 minutes, well, 2 minutes maybe. Is it as good as the first time? Is it consistent? It's really, really, really hard. Things like that make a massive difference. But that's quite cool, because you're introducing some left hand muting. You're keeping the 16th note going with the right hand. Makes a nice, a nice variety, really. Okay. Then maybe try something fingerstyle. If you're a little bit more advanced as a player, I mean, I don't know, something like Autumn Leaves. Messed it up at the end. Right, get it. So what we're trying to do here is really bring out that melody note, which is particularly difficult. Okay, now you could go on sort of messing about with that, but the idea is that you're not. I don't think I can demonstrate to the contrary, but you really hear that note within the melody, and then all the other parts, so like the bass part, the kind of chord parts, are quieter. Now that again is fantastic technique. You listen to the masters of fingerstyle guitar, and they can do that wonderfully, to be able to take a melody and make it sing. Now it isn't necessarily classical guitar, you know, I'm thinking kind of basic jazz guitar, it's nothing too flash. Okay, now that means that you're appreciating with your hands dynamically where the melody is coming from and how you're treating the chord. Now that is kind of top level stuff, you know. I'm kind of finding that quite difficult, but it is top level stuff. But that is the kind of thing that improves your technique, that will make you even better all the time. Trying to improve, record it. How good does it sound? Does it sound as good as the other guy? You know, all these things you've got to be super critical. But anything kind of fingerstyle-esque, see if you can make it and make sure you can hear the melody. So instead of going, you know, it should be. You really bring the chords out, you know, to the kind of background. You know, kind of thing. Okay, the chords are in the background, the melody's at the forefront, you're playing like two guitars. That's the kind of thing. Again, an incredibly difficult thing to do, guys, but this is what good technique is. It isn't whizzing around the fretboard at 300 miles an hour, okay? So I hope that helps. Hope it's given you at least some inspiration. It doesn't mean that you have to take this example. It's just an idea and it's a theory, and that's what the thing to work with is, okay? So maybe try out some of those ideas, just anything, but get recording yourself and be critical and look at your consistency, and that's really what good technique is. It's about being able to do it, and do it on stage as well with a loud amp, and being able to do it in a studio environment with a loud amp and drums and everything else, and being consistent. But the only way that you do that is by hammering all these things as much as you possibly can, so that it just becomes second nature. Again, it's not easy, but guitar mastery certainly doesn't come very easily to anyone. So guys, have a crack at it. I hope it's been useful. There'll be some more FAQs coming soon, and I look forward to seeing you. Cheers.